My name's Pete Wood, you're watching Hexham TV. Who are you?
Hello, I'm Tanya Taylor. I'm one of a group of 6 artists and craftspeople who are here for our 10th annual exhibition at Hexham Abbey. We opened today, the 8th of July, and we go on until Saturday, the 18th of July.
So Tanya, tell me a little bit about the exhibition. What sort of people are displaying their artwork?
We've got a really beautiful range of people doing things. We have a printmaker, a very talented printmaker, a lady who does absolutely exquisite hand embroidery, a painter who paints beautiful paintings of animals, a landscape photographer, a local landscape photographer, and I make hand-stitched notebooks and journals. And this year we're pleased to be welcoming Kate Wilkinson. She's new to the group and she makes stained glass.
So what made you set up this exhibition? Because as you say, it's the sort of 10th anniversary of having artists in the Abbey. Why did you decide to do it?
I think we had this was an offshoot of Network Artists, which was a group of artists around Northumberland who were going for a long time. We kind of broke off from there, and a couple of people had links to the Abbey. So that made it relatively easy for us to secure the space. And we've been here every year since then, apart from 2020 during COVID.
And it's a free exhibition, isn't it? So people can just wander in and have a wander around.
It is absolutely free of charge, and the really nice thing is that a few of us will actually be making pieces during the run of the event, and we're really, really happy to engage with people and talk about what we do and our process. So it's a really lively, friendly event, and we do like to engage with the people who come through.
And for people who want to sort of time their visit, what sort of times will the artists be here?
We're open from 10 till 4 every day, but obviously we do have to allow for church events, so funerals and weddings. So occasionally throughout the day the Abbey will be closed, so visitors won't be able to come in then. But we can't sort of strictly say when those events will be, but obviously there'll be a sign outside the Abbey which will say when we're closed. But that doesn't happen very often, so generally 10 till 4 every day until the 18th of July.
So Tanya, tell me about your own artistic work.
Okay, I stitch handcrafted journals. I wouldn't call myself a bookbinder because that's very much more complicated than what I do. Can I show you?
Of course.
Yeah. I specialise in open spined work so that you can actually see the stitching. It's the stitching that holds all the pages together. And I love working with the colours, choosing papers, choosing the cords that hold the covers together. So a lot of the joy in what I do is working with the colour. I find that really uplifting.
And how long have you been doing this?
I honestly can't remember. I can't even remember how it came about. I've always loved to craft things ever since I was little. I honestly can't remember how I started to do this, but I've simply taught myself from books. I've never been to college or anything, but gradually built my skills over the years. I must have been doing it for about 20 years now.
What's your most popular book that you produce?
I would say probably the middle-sized ones, because they tend to fit into people's bags more easily. These are more sort of journals that you keep at home and maybe write as a diary sort of thing. And then the tiny little ones are good stocking fillers, I suppose, but also handy for keeping in your bag. So they all have different stitching patterns on the spines. And that's one of the joys as well, is the creativity of deciding quite how I need the spines to look.
Tanya, thank you very much for talking to Hexham TV.
Thank you very much for coming.
My name's Pete Woods, you're watching Hexham TV. Who are you?
My name's Jo Westgate. I'm a local artist.
So Jo, tell me about the work that you do and what you're exhibiting at the Hexham Abbey at the moment.
Well, I'm a printmaker predominantly, and I'm inspired by Northumberland landscape. So my work's based on the countryside around where I live, just near to Hexham, and it's lovely to be exhibiting in Hexham Abbey because it's well and truly within the heart of the landscape, which I find to be so inspiring.
So tell me about how you make one of your prints.
I work in two different sorts of techniques. I've got an example here of a dry point plate. I take this piece of metal out into the countryside with me and I scratch the drawing using a sharp stylus onto the metal, which makes a texture. I then bring it back into my studio where I ink it up. The ink sticks where the scratches are, and you put a piece of dampened paper over the top and roll it through a mangle-like printing press, and the ink is transferred from the metal onto the paper. Some of the other pictures I work with are done with lino cut. This one, for example, I work on a piece of lino which I cut out using a combination of different shapes of tool. Some have got a V-shaped end, some a U-shaped end. So you cut out the bits which are then going to be the white shapes. You roll ink on the top of the piece of lino and press a piece of paper on so that the ink transfers onto the piece of paper. The ink hasn't gone into the bits that you've cut, so on this occasion the cut marks are the bits that show as white. But they're all I'm interested in all of them with pattern and texture. Sometimes some have got birds in. I've got some here of crows and swallows and a wren.
And Jo, is this the first time you've taken part in Artists in the Abbey?
No, I was here last year as well. I'd done a series of work about St Wilfrid on that occasion, largely for the church in Corbridge actually, but was very happy to move to here to Hexham Abbey, where I'm also a member of the congregation. So it's a very lovely place to be.
So Jo, I understand that you also have a creative daughter and that you're exhibiting some of her work at the Abbey here.
Yes, that's right. My daughter Nina Winstanley has a company she calls Frog and Hog. She's actually also a musician. That's her main thing. She lives down in Cardiff. So I'm in charge of her very beautiful earrings, which she sent me today to exhibit as part of the stand that I've got in the Abbey.
Let's have a look at some of those earrings.
I'm David Taylor. I'm a landscape photographer based in Hexham.
So David, you're exhibiting at Artists in the Abbey at the moment. Tell me about the sorts of photographs that you take and what inspires you.
It's mainly landscape. I'm really inspired by the Northumberland countryside and the coastline. I do a lot of work on Headrings Wall, obviously, it's just on my doorstep, but also in the Cheviot and places like Bamburgh and Craster, basically wherever there's good light and some fantastic scenery.
So tell me a little bit about the process of you taking photographs and getting them developed.
There's a lot of planning involved, a lot of looking at maps, watching the weather forecast, seeing what the weather's going to do, seeing what's going to happen over the course of a day. But basically quite often just going for a walk and looking for things which appeal to the eye, which could make an interesting photo.
So David, you're also a writer. Tell me about the books that you produce.
These are guidebooks to the region. I've done 3 so far for Northumberland and the North East in general. And basically they're guides to really obscure places quite often, as well as the more typical places like Bamburgh Castle. And they're basically just to help people learn about their own region. They do appeal to people who aren't from the region, but I find that it's more people who live in the area, who want to find out more about it, who don't know about these things that are on the doorstep, that are buying these books, which is quite interesting.
And do you self-publish, or do you get them published by a
No,
publisher?
these are all strange. It's a German publisher. This is a series that is printed around the world, so there's guidebooks to the US and to Europe as well. But I've cornered the North East, that's my particular patch. But yeah, there are guidebooks to everywhere. Wherever you can think of, there's probably a guidebook in this series to those books.
Tell me a little known fact that you discovered in one of the books that perhaps people won't know about.
I can't remember his name, but there's a guy who's buried in Newcastle who claimed to have invented the kipper, and he claimed that he had these herring sort of stored in a shed which got set on fire accidentally, and afterwards he claimed that that invented the kipper accidentally.
David, thank you for talking to Hexham
No
TV.
problem. Oh, right, okay, thank you very much.
I'm Claire Myers and I'm an animal artist.
So Claire, you're exhibiting here at Artists in the Abbey. Tell me, how did you get into creating art about animals?
It's something I've always liked doing, really, and then I sort of did art up to A level at school, and then was self-taught and just painted people's animals, and then it kind of went from there, really.
And what medium do you use to create your art?
It's acrylic, so it dries nice and quickly, and it's easy to work with. So.
And do you have a particular animal that you like to paint or?
Yeah, I love doing horses. I get a lot of dogs to do. It's probably the most thing I get to do is dogs, but I will do anything, really. So I've got quite a big variety of things that I do.
So as well as selling your art here, people can commission you, can they, to create a piece of artwork about their pet or their animal that they're fond of?
Yeah, I just need a good clear photo to work from, and you can do that, yeah.
And how long does it take to produce one of your pieces of work?
Many, many hours. I've got quicker over the time because I've done this from about 2009 now. So I am quicker than I used to be, but it still does take a long time to do each one.
So let's have a little look at some of your artwork here. So where can people find out more about your artwork?
Okay, so I have a Facebook page and I have a website which is claremyersart.com.
Who are you?
Hi, my name is Susan Gallagher and I work under the name Along the Fellside.
So Susan, tell me about your artwork.
So my artwork started during lockdown. I used to work in design, in interiors, doing hotels and restaurants, nightclubs, that sort of thing. So that was my early career. Always been very interested in colour and putting colours together. And gave up design when I had family. Then went into teaching, and since then, and during lockdown, I got back into hand stitch. I'd inherited from grandparents, grandmas, great aunts, a lot of fabrics, a lot of threads, a lot of old vintage tableware. So that's now what I use to incorporate into my work. Mostly seed heads, but it's I have quite a sort of, the way I create them and put the colours together, it's quite stylised, it's a bit graphic. And yeah, I've been doing it, as I say, since lockdown. I just do one show a year, which is this one in the Abbey. I live in Hexham, so it's great, lovely to be amongst a load of other creatives. And yes, here we are.
So let's have a look at some of your work here, and just perhaps talk me through the sort of work of one or two of the pieces.
Right, so these seed head ones are what I started with. Then I get that I want to sort of venture into something different, so I then started on this piece, which was a lockdown piece that I cut up bits of patterns that were on a fabric, turned them into the flowers, and then stitched a little saying in the centre which says, "And into the garden I go to lose my body and find my soul," which was quite sort of apt during lockdown, really. Gardens and my stitching was my saviour during lockdown. So that's those pieces. I also, further over, have some pieces that are based on a designer called Keith Fassett, who now designs his own fabrics. He's an American designer who worked a lot in patchwork quilts. He designs his own fabrics. I have a friend who makes quilts from his patterns, and she gives me all the little offcuts. So there I stitched them all hand stitched together, and then those pieces have been embellished with sequins and beads.
What is it people particularly like about your work?
I think certainly from feedback that I've had from people in the Abbey, it's the fact that I'm reusing fabrics. I don't go out and buy anything new. It's all stuff now. People know that I do this, so I get a lot of stuff offered to me, and I think it's just sort of, it's a bit quirky, it's a bit different. It particularly seems to appeal to the Americans. We get a lot of American tourists come through Hexham, and they love it. Also, the Keith Fassett pieces were, I had a Japanese couple came to look at my work last year, and they took 3 or 4 pieces for their apartment. So it's nice to think that work that I'm creating on my own, because it is basically a hobby, that it's going out into the world to other places, and other people are getting enjoyment from it. So,
Thank you very much for talking to Hexham TV.
Thank you.